Hi everybody, Sherry here for Create Whatever. I'm on location at Otherwise Studios in Guelph with the lovely Julia Masci textiles. I'm learning eco dyeing today, not eco, which I often call it, but eco dyeing, and it's just been so interesting and fascinating. You're going to see Julie explaining things. You're going to see other ladies' hands as they put things together. We've done three projects: steam and the wet dyeing for different projects. So it's really cool, and I can't wait to dive into this a little bit more as I plant things in the garden that will help with the eco dyeing. But anyways, it's a strange place, but it's pretty cool inside. So let's go inside. So it's the strangest place to get to.
You're going to kind of find the middle. I'm holding it slightly taut. You're going to take a deep breath. Right? Picture in half. Doesn't matter if it's exactly in half or not. And just go. Right? And then from the edge here, that's where you're going to press it down. And you might hear a crack. And if your leaves bend, you're going to take your copper pipe, because we're going to do that. And you're going to fold it in half. You kind of just fold it over. And I'm going to start. And this is the part where I'm going to use quite a lot of pressure. And I like to hold here and roll. Hold here and roll. And you may get, because nothing is perfect, right? And especially in working with plants, you may get little ripples. You can try to fold them out. It's not the end of the world. We're gonna really wrap this up. But so I just kind of hold it and roll, hold it and roll, hold it and roll. And then when I get to this point, I kind of give it a little bit of a roll like this to crush them in. I just hold it and then wrap it around, because that holds it just fine, right? So I'm just holding the string, holding the string and wrapping. And I'm just going to go around the whole thing and wrap it right to the end, and then back down one more time. And you can see it's not close. I'm just, yep. Being able to travel with them and do this. They are stainless steel because I'm using induction burners. These are awesome. Canadian Tire has them on sale every once in a while. I think when they were on sale, I got them for $60 a piece. They bring a pot of water up to a boil at their highest temperature in about 3 minutes. At home I use my stove. Everybody's angry at me all the time. But you can. If you're sensitive to smells, you'll notice when we put the sumac in, we will smell. I don't find the eco prints smell so much, but a little bit depending on the leaves. And we are using geranium, so they will, like, there'll be a little bit of a geranium smell, but we keep the lid on. Down, you might go a little bit longer. The beauty of this is, like, if it's longer than that, it doesn't really matter. So I've done where I've put my bundles into the pot, put my timer on, and then needed to leave to go out, so I turned them off. Left for a few hours, came back, turned them back on, restarted the timer. No big deal, right?
Could you do them in a slow cooker?
Apparently yes. Apparently yes, if you have one. So the rule is once these things are used for natural dyes or dyeing, don't open them.
Okay.
Yeah. Value Village, Salvation Army, they have aluminum pots for, Value Village is a little bit more expensive, but
So like the aluminum canning, those big
yes,
canning things?
that's
Yeah.
what I use at home.
Okay, cool.
Are the aluminum canning. So halfway through, I'm going to flip them just so that everything gets steamed a little bit. You can go in if you were just having your one bundle in here and you put it in and you felt like kind of turning it halfway through the cooking time, you can. Have I noticed a huge difference when I do that? Not really, but it is something maybe you do because we're stacking all these together. I will flip them. Thank you. Now, if you had a really big piece, right, that stuck out, right, and you couldn't get it all the way in the pot, which is how I usually work, that is completely fine. You may just cook it for a little bit longer so that all parts of it, I'm going to show my paper clips are staying together, yep. All parts of it get access to the steam, and then I would just put my lid on like this, right, and let the thing hold it up. Makes your house a little bit steamy. It's a good one for outside, but this one we can keep it totally closed, which is nice. I will check to make sure we don't lose water. I find this little pot doesn't lose too much water with the lid all the way on. And I'm going to set a timer for 90 minutes. Every plant kind of shifts a little bit. You see in the leaves, we get with the tannins, with the iron, we get greens. It shifts from greens to blacks. With sumac, it shifts from tan to purple to black. So we're going to do purple-ish. It's like a gray purple. So each plant that contains tannins will give you a slightly different color reaction. This is willy-nilly. This is like leaving it up to the gods and the winds and nature, using pieces of iron. Because it can hold a lot or just a little, right? And depending on if you're trying to control it, I wouldn't use this type of iron as your added iron. But for things like this, it's fantastic because it does give great shades of things. And I've used this so many times, over and over again.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, if you sort of depleted or...
No, you just let it sit there and continue ironing. To make a dye bath, very simply, I'm going to start it now so that it's ready when we're ready to put our stuff in. But you can make this at days before if you want. I'm just going to add the sumac berries. And you can also break them up, but it's not, because we're doing bundle dyeing, they'll just hang out in there with everything. I'm going to keep some
So
of
will
them.
this all stay in there when we put the bundles in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could just add all this with your bundles, right? And let it cook a little bit longer. This reaction is quite quick. But sumac is, it doesn't take too much. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And you can, it smells, I love the smell of sumac, but.
How much water's in there?
So this is completely up to you and how much water you need for your project. It doesn't matter. If you want it to be totally submerged, then fill it up halfway for the dye bath. And you can also add more. So if you started this and you left it boiling for too long and you lost a lot of liquid, just add more liquid. Because you're concentrating it, it's totally fine. I will use a dye bath like this a whole bunch of times. I will just add more liquid, especially if you're leaving the plant material in here. One of these bundles, then I would use a clamp. I'm going to actually just steal this string. Thank you. I would probably just use a clamp, but space and time, like we don't have enough space in that for both bundles to have clamps on. But like if you're just doing one, then you could clamp it. This is a fun way. You could add all sorts of pieces of paper and things to the outside of this that you just want to dye, right? Just throw things in there, doesn't matter. It's pretty good. Whoop.
Sorry, you said you could use wood or what on the bottom?
Wood or metal plates. You don't necessarily have to put everything into the dye bath, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Right? You could take some bigger bundles, and this is one thing I really like to do, and put them up and down, so half of it is in the dye bath, and half of it is not in the dye bath. The top part will steam, the bottom part will boil and get the color to make cool designs. So you don't have to worry about if it's totally submerged, right? It's no problem at all. Now these are going to go in here for an hour. An hour because they're thin. So you could even do something like this, like 45 minutes if they were just by themselves, because they're so thin. The thicker and bigger your bundles, a little bit longer if you want the color to really go in. I might actually add a little bit more sumac to this. Then our paper bundles, that is what I'm going to do with our paper bundles. Well, I'm going to attempt. So the paper can also be steamed. It doesn't have to be boiled. You could do the same process, put this whole thing in the steamer, an hour and a half to 2 hours. To see what it does. Stuff around there. There we go. So, and then we're gonna let that boil for an hour. Any of the string if you'll use them.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So you can clearly see, like, because of the color.
And that's the bleed through, right? Like, or
Yes,
so good.
yeah. So in the spring, the leaves bleed through a little bit less than in the fall. If you were doing this in the fall, it is a much stronger bleed through, so that's something as you go along that you'll realize.
Okay, and removing the plant material,
You can just peel it off if it will peel. Now, the fabric is very forgiving. If it turns to mush, it will wash off when it's dry. That's also another reason why you leave it to dry. If something will peel off, leave it to dry, it'll flake off.
Wow.
Oh, nice
that
prints.
So beautiful. Wow.
Pickles or something.
That's the geranium. So if you use stinky leaves, it will smell. That goes away, sadly.
Okay, tell me what that is.
That is a stem.
Right.
That's a stem. That's that. From your peony. Peony. It's the peony
Okay.
stem. Peony is very, very strong.
That's this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Past Julia is not smart.
And what was in that diagram? It was sumac and then
Sumac and one rusty bolt.
a bolt.
So that bolt held a lot of rust.
Yeah.
For this dark of a color. And there's your kind of, if you're gonna go the using metals in a solid form route, it is very unpredictable how much something holds, right? Because I have gotten way lighter purples and grays.
But then you could
From
just
different
take the
recipes.
iron piece out as you boil.
Yeah.
You just put it
Yeah,
in for
you
a
could
couple
put it in
minutes
for
or
a bit
something.
when you're first starting and then take it out. Just be very careful because they hold a lot of heat. If you were using, like, you could even just do one side of this, a rusty plate, and then you wouldn't add anything, right? If you're adding rust to your project, then you wouldn't add extra, like that rusty bolt is unnecessary.